And we are live. Welcome to this week's episode of the Funvee Tailgate presented by ThunderblogSports.com, a part of the Bullpen Cart podcast feed. I, of course, am the G-Man, Jordy Cannell, joining me for the first time on the Google Hangouts in a while.
Yes.
Matty D, what's up, buddy?
I'm still coming down from the high that was this past weekend, football-packed weekend. And, most importantly, the big 1-0 for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get there, I know. I just had to bring it up early now. But even a couple really strong college games we're going to jump into here in a moment. Very impressed overall. Very impressed.
Big weekend. It was a ton of fun. And big sports weekend for you as well. You were at the BMW, which looked awesome.
Yes, awesome time.
Yeah, great times. You were like 5 feet away from Tiger, which.
Oh my God, I was. You know what? I was going to reach out and touch him, then I realized it's golf. I'm better than that. This is golf. Yeah, this isn't football. This isn't basketball. This is golf. There's rules. You have manners. So you know what? I tell you something.
Hey, some dude chugged a beer behind Tiger. Did you see that on Monday?
I did see that. That was pretty incredible, though. Actually,
pretty hilarious.
But you know what I couldn't stand though was there was a lot of and this happens at every tournament. But guys were yelling. Tiger gets up over his putt. Go Tiger! Caddies give dirty looks. Have some respect for the game. We're not.
Did you see what Thomas Peters said? He said that Americans don't know how to drink, and that's why we're so rowdy.
Well, I kind of like that. That's a little fighting words. I dig that though. I'm with that.
Yeah, he was talking about the Ryder Cup, but let's get back to football.
Hey, look, maybe we should tell Thomas Peters to win this year. Then we can talk about the Ryder Cup a little bit.
Yeah, well, he's not even on the team, but let's jump back into football. We'll start in college. If you did not listen last week and you have not listened to a regular season Funvee Tailgate before, we do about a half hour, 45 minutes of college football, look back at last week, look ahead to this weekend, a couple good lines. Then we jump over to the NFL. We're going to try to give you a little bit of fantasy advice and then do our cold hard locks, our pick 'em against one another, which we'll get into all that as we get to the NFL. But let's start in college, Matt. Week 2 of the college football season. And some of it went pretty straightforward. Some of it was pretty wild.
Yep.
We saw Clemson really close. And let's just start right there. We had Texas A&M nearly complete the comeback in the fourth quarter, but the Tigers hang on in College Station. They still are number 2 in the rankings. What were your thoughts during that game? Because it was insane.
Well, first of all, and we just found out Texas A&M is now the number 1 in terms of most valuable college program by Forbes. They've just passed their in-state rival Texas for number 1 in the rankings.
Texas is now not back in that too.
Yeah, just so you know, it's Texas A&M, Texas. Then I believe it's Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State. That's the order it goes. Just want to give out a big shout out to Big Blue there. So, first and foremost, you got to be, if you're the rest of the SEC, you're put on notice by Jimbo Fisher. They're clearly a little ahead of schedule. This defense shouldn't get picked up. Clemson defense should not get picked apart. Come on, 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, big plays. To me, this was more of an eye-opener on the defensive side of the ball for Clemson than it was on the offensive side, which I know we'll get to in a second. But if you're – assuming Clemson's making the playoffs, if you're Georgia, if you're Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, if you can pass the ball, it appears, at least right now, even with that all-world defensive line, you can get to this team. Yep. That's definitely got to be concerning for Dabo Swinney. I think there's some things he needs to work on there. I'm going to tell you the one thing that I think cost them this game, though. They've got this – they had this big guy. I think it was Kendrick Rogers.
Yeah.
All right, number 13, sophomore. 7 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was a monster. And yet he wasn't on the field for the last play, the 2-point conversion. That was a huge mistake. He was the one that caught the touchdown pass right before that. He should have been on the field for that. That's – to me, this was we were trying to figure out where Clemson was going to be tested, and we didn't pick Texas A&M.
No, we completely overlooked it.
Right. Couldn't do coach. We thought maybe Florida State. We thought maybe South Carolina. Neither of those teams look like they're going to be much of a threat. So
exactly.
This might have been.
That's what I was about to say. Is both of those teams kind of have been exposed as frauds. And in Florida State week 1 and South Carolina this past week, that was a game I thought was going to be the most exciting. And it wasn't even close. Georgia swamped on them throughout the entire game. Jake Fromm just picked him apart. Elijah Holyfield had a nice week, and in that fucking stable of a Bulldog backfield.
Oh my God, their team is just so talented. So talented.
They're so talented. I mean, they're going to coast to the SEC championship, and I think
they're going to come up against
enter that game against Clemson, nearly a lock for the college football playoff, unless Alabama. Against Alabama. That's a good point because they have to play the SEC championship game,
right?
But still, they look great.
Yeah. I do want to touch, by the way, on Clemson's offense. Kelly Bryant deserves to be the starter. I don't care what they think of Trevor Lawrence. This guy took him to the college football playoff last year. Yep. He's clearly good enough to get it done. And, Lawrence, I know he's a great freshman. I just think it should be Kelly Bryant's job to lose. I understand, you thinking the game's going to be easy. But I think you saw, by the way, in the second half that Kelly Bryant was in the field the whole time. He's a senior. He should play, in my opinion. Lawrence will get his chance, but I think Bryant's their de facto guy. And also, Hunter Renfrow gets no credit or no press.
Yep.
Now, if you don't remember who Hunter Renfrow is, 2 years
ago. Not the Padres
player. Right. 2 years ago, he caught the touchdown pass to beat Alabama in the national championship game. He is gutsy. And I think he's going to end up finding his way as a great slot receiver in the NFL. Everything that touches his hands gets caught. He's just impressive to me. And I think he gets overlooked because he's not this T. Higgins who looks like the next great Clemson wide receiver after like DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Sammy Watkins. But I just think that he gets overlooked, and he's the kind of guy you need in a team to make a championship run. So this is one of my last point on Clemson. But they got scared, so we'll see. I mean, to me, they should be fine moving forward.
That's probably the wake-up call game in terms of what we'll see out of them, and I think we probably see them roll throughout the rest of their schedule. Maybe they have one more step against the two teams we mentioned before, a Florida or Florida State or a South Carolina. Maybe the week before those, I need to check, just closed out of their schedule of who they play, almost as a trap game type of deal. But I want to ask you this, Matt. What shocked you more in terms of shakiness of offense? Notre Dame's or USC's? Because Notre Dame pulled off the win, but they almost nearly let up their lead. And USC looked like an FCS team against Stanford.
Yeah, well I mean, a couple of things. Definitely Notre Dame. And I think it's more so because of USC has a true freshman quarterback who seems to have a lot of talent. But they're going up against, to me, one of the best defenses in all of college football. Stanford, so well coached, so strong, so good. So I would be more worried if I was Notre Dame than if I was USC. I mean, I just think USC has a lot more growth potential in them. They're just such a young team. Notre Dame, they're playing Ball State.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Brandon Wimbush we thought we'd see against Michigan.
Yep.
So, what every great team has. I'd love to badmouth Notre Dame. They had a rough go against a bad opponent. But it was one game, and we've seen other teams have that same kind of thing. Now they've got a couple of cupcakes, but they're about to play the Stanford 3 weeks. They play the Cardinal in South Bend, but they play the Cardinal. So interesting to see how that goes. Cardinal, we talk about this a lot. Cardinal and then at Vatech. That's going to make or break really their abilities. But I'm definitely more down on Notre Dame this week than I am on USC. Like I said, because they played a great Stanford team. It was so much more than Bryce Love, and I'm glad that people are starting to see that a little bit because they are. I mean, they're just so. I was 4 sacks, 3 turnovers. That's what we thought Stanford's defense might be like this year, and they proved it. So, and that's what you do to a freshman quarterback when you're a defense like that. So I definitely more so Notre Dame. Do you agree, or you feel differently there?
No, I would agree with that, and you kind of hit the nail right on the head. USC, you kind of thought they'd struggle here. JT Daniels, he's basically skipped his senior year to go to college. The guy's super young. You didn't think he was going to perform in a night game, his first true road game in a big time.
Up in Palo Alto too. Like they weren't at home either. That's another big thing.
Exactly. I mean, they couldn't really get a lot of other stuff done too. They had really, if you take out JT Daniels's sack numbers. They had 130 yards on the ground, but they couldn't really get it going. I mean, no matter who they handed the ball off to, they had decent yards in the air, but I mean, like you said, that Stanford defense is really good. They forced a number of fumbles or one fumble, but a number of sacks and tackles for loss. And, out of that USC, I'm confusing my two jeweled shillelagh opponents, and really made him struggle there. But I mean, Notre Dame, this is the win Bush you thought we'd see against Michigan, as you said, and he really looked like he was kind of struggling there. I mean, I know it was raining in Indiana as well, as we saw throughout this weekend. It was just kind of just shitty weather and all this different stuff, but still, I mean, their defense looked a little bit confused at times. They looked like they got a little bit gassed towards the end. So we'll see. Maybe this is their wake up call as well, and we'll see what they do going forward.
Yeah, certainly was a kind of a letdown game. But once again, I mean, you just got to win. They'll forget about these games later in the season to an extent. Pretty much other than that, I thought it was pretty chalk across the board. I do want to point out, though, a huge injury, huge in my opinion, and that is Rodney Anderson of Oklahoma, their star running back. He's out for the season, and so Kyler Murray is now the guy, and so a little concerning there for that. Or that I know Oklahoma's loaded, but a little concerning there for them. They've got to figure out who's going to step into Anderson's void.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, there were some other games that I know there's one that you want to talk about because you called this straight up last week on the podcast.
I did. Arizona State over Michigan State. I said it on the pod. I wrote it on the Funvee Tailgate blog. They won in a wild fourth quarter where they completed a comeback. They were down 13 points entering the fourth quarter, or 10 points, excuse me. They scored 13 to win, including a walk-off buzzer-beating field goal to win the game. Michigan State looked completely just dummied throughout this game. And Arizona State's Manny Wilkins, their quarterback, threw for nearly 400 yards. This guy picked apart their defense, which, I mean, we got to give Herm Edwards a ton of credit because he's obviously, he's had a lot of experience on both levels, coaching, playing, all that good stuff. But he's gotten these boys ready to go. And I don't think they're going to make a ton of noise. They're 2-0 right now in their overall, and I don't think they're going to make a ton of noise in the Pac-12 South, but I mean, they look pretty good, and they have been able to do a ton of different stuff, whether it be get the ball up into the air. They rushed for only 44 yards. I mean, that's probably the funniest thing about it, Matt, is they only quote unquote gained 200 or 420 yards. Still, I mean,
well, let me ask you this question, okay? If you had told me at the beginning of the season that Arizona State would be 2-0 and Arizona would be 0-2,
yeah,
I would have been shocked.
Yeah, and our boy Khalil Tate not looking great.
Heisman looks already almost over for him after a 45-18 shellacking by a underrated Houston Cougars team. Yeah, that's pretty devastating. Final shout out I want to give about week 2, Kentucky. After 40, was it 41 years?
Yes.
Or was I right? 41 years? 41 years of not beating Florida.
Yep.
Finally beat Florida.
Yep.
Florida 25th in the team. Not that they're not bad, but they're certainly not Florida we expect. But that to me it's incredible.
When do we need to start considering Benny Snell in the Heisman category? He has 300 yards in 2 games.
I think he deserves a vote on a list. And against Florida, it's pretty impressive against Florida. Okay, that's definitely impressive to me. But still, that being said, this team's going to have to be good. It was not 41 years, 31 game losing streak. So essentially 31 years of losing. And they pretty much, I mean, after halftime, they dominated. And you're right, Snell was excellent. And yeah, it's actually not a bad 27 carries, 175 yards. Not a bad.
He averages over 6 yards a carry.
Yeah. Now they're going to play Mississippi State in 2 weeks. So we're going to start to see.
Big.
That's a big game for them. Kind of if they want to make any noise and they want to be some kind of an underdog story, they got to beat Michigan State. That'll put them on the map. That'll get them ranked. They got to play Georgia a little later. But, yeah, anyway, so big win for them. Very excited for the Kentucky program. They deserve it. That was a good win by them.
Yes.
Rocky start to Dan Mullen's now for Florida. We got a lot of teams. Willie Taggart in Florida State, Dan Mullen, Kevin Sumlin in Arizona. Number of teams that have a rocky start to a new coaching hire in college football. But we had talked about this earlier, G, and we mentioned I thought I was circling week 3 as a big week in college football. Week in college football. So we'll save probably the biggest game, the night game, if you will, for a little bit. But I want to point out some potential. By the way, number of games canceled due to Hurricane Florence. Everyone stay safe. But
yes,
Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and UCF, First North Carolina will all not play. They're all canceled games.
I'm waiting because Lehigh plays it at Navy. I'm waiting to hear if that gets canceled or not because that's pretty close to the Bay.
Right.
I think I was going to maybe go down for it, but now I'm just going to stay put in Philly.
I get that. I want to talk about a trap game, upset game right away because this is a team that we've talked about before. Oklahoma visiting Iowa State.
Yes.
Iowa State. They're 17.5-point favorites, as they should be. But Iowa State has a way. Now, unfortunately, this game isn't on a Friday because it's usually a Friday game that they win. But I wouldn't bet on this game because I think Iowa State is capable of upsetting somebody this year. We've talked about how good that program's been, how far they've come.
Yeah, it's either Iowa State wins this or loses by they win some. The margin's going to go from them losing by 2 to winning it outright, or them getting blown out by 35 points. Right, absolutely, yeah. So, just a fun game to watch if you happen to catch it. There's actually, to me, the game that everyone's talking about is TCU Ohio State, but there's another huge game on the radar here that I think people are. I don't know if they're forgetting about it, they're just overlooking, and that's a surprise to an extent. LSU versus having a brain fart here. Who they playing? LSU versus Auburn. Right. Yeah. LSU Auburn. And that's a big deal. Playoff contention, big deal. Visit now. It's at Auburn, and so Auburn's about a 10.5-point favorite. I understand that, but still, that could be a huge game. Don't count out the Tigers now. No, I wouldn't. I mean, it's the battle between Tigers, so great joke there. But no, I mean, Coach O has shown that he can really grind with us. Obviously, the big win over Miami in week 1, but I think it's going to be exciting to see how they fucking do in this game. I mean, that's at 3:30. It's a CBS game, so you definitely gotta, especially if it's raining, just take a seat, watch this game. There's not really a ton else on this Saturday, at least in the afternoon in terms of games, unless you have your school and stuff like that. I mean, Oklahoma plays it at noon, so that's going to be wrapping up right around then. You'll have the Michigan game, so you can flip over to that, but I don't think SMU is going to give them any trouble, Matt. So you might just have to have some Yahoo alerts set up. Yeah, but, I mean, I'm with you there. How about this? Stanford plays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. At Stanford, that's an 11 a.m. start against UC Davis. I guess they're all, West Coast, so it's 11 a.m. for all of them. Which, by the way, burned the fuck out of me for the Northwestern Duke game. I thought Duke was going to play slow. They look really good. Got to give them a shout out. They got votes this week. The other one I got to give a shout out to, who plays Florida State at home and might have a really good shot of winning. And going even to 3-0. Florida State barely beat Samford, not Stanford, last week. So they look like they're in a little bit of trouble here. Yep. We had this as a request during the Bullpen Card podcast from Monday night / Tuesday when it got released from Greg to talk about his Syracuse Orange, who have scored, Matt, a grand total of 117 points. Their quarterback, Eric Dungy, has tied his school record throwing 5 touchdown passes last Saturday. I mean, this could be a potential upset city in this game. Let's see if we can find the line for this, because Florida State no longer ranked. So nothing on my little board. I'm going to try to find this for us. But I mean, a fun weekend. We mentioned LSU. We mentioned, Georgia plays Middle Tennessee. Mississippi State plays regular Louisiana. Alabama plays Ole Miss, which is normally a good game at the Grove, but Ole Miss doesn't look like they're a serious contender for the upset. Might take the points with them because they're 21-point home dogs. Another one, though, before we get to the big night game, is Boise State, Oklahoma State.
I think that's going to be another ranked game.
That if Boise State stays good, I mean, if they win this, they put themselves into some sort of New Year's Six type conversation. Be this year's UCF. I don't think if they run the table, they have a legit shot at the playoff. But I don't know if they have some slip up game like the Boise State teams of the BCS era did. If 11-1 Boise, 12-1 because they win their conference championship, I don't know if they'd have a legit shot. But if they can win here, pull out some upset, they're only 2.5-point dogs. Right. Could be interesting to see. Alexander Mattison, Matt as in your name, Mattison,
right,
is their running back, and he looks like he's a stud. But I mean, Taylor Cornelius, we talk about his name every week, but what a fucking Oklahoma name!
I know, what a great name.
That guy can bomb the ball. Yeah. So we'll see. That should be a fun game to flip between LSU and Auburn.
I really want to tune into that game because I just seems like it's a fun game to me. Like, that's the way I see it. It's a fun game. So definitely could be some shakers. I'm sorry, we missed Ohio State TCU.
Yep. Before we do that, I want to point out.
I'm sorry, you missed something. Go.
3-point home dogs are the orange. Look out for this fucking game. I might get in on this action. Greg, let's chat offline. But anyway, let's get to Oklahoma or TCU and Ohio State, Matt.
Yeah. Last game before the suspension of Urban Meyer ends, and it's by far their hardest game because they played well. I mean, they played cupcakes. Let's be honest, they haven't played anybody. So, huge game here for them. Pretty much, it's their really only non-conference game that they have. It's of any value. So we'll see what happens. TCU looks better than ever before. This is an absolute huge game for both programs, in my opinion. TCU wants to prove that they've made it, and Ohio State wants to prove that they're going to be a title contender, which a lot of people think they will be. So I'm locked into this game. Cannot wait to watch this.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a ton of fun to watch. I mean, you got two stud offenses with really good quarterbacks battling. Two pretty solid defenses, I would say. I mean, I'd probably say Ohio State's is better just on an all-around standpoint, but TCU's is no layover. I know, we can talk about Big 12 defenses all you want, but still, I think they're going to show a decent challenge to them. This is being played in Jerry World as well. So, I mean, that's going to get packed up with That's going to get packed up with fans on both sides because Ohio State fans are everywhere. But, I mean, it's only down the road from where TCU is. So we're going to see a pretty hostile environment in this game, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
No, I think so too. Yeah, the weird thing is, like, is this going to be a heavy defensive game?
It could be. That's a really good point.
Both offenses have been pretty good. TCU got a little bit, but like Ohio State hasn't played anybody, so they're about to get tested by one of the best defensive minds in college football. I think this could be lower scoring than you think it's going to be.
Lower than the over/under of 60. You would take an under there.
I would think. I think it could possibly be under. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for this one though, and I don't know, without Urban Meyer and with really an untested Dwayne Haskins, who's looked great, by the way, but he's played nobody. Rutgers and Oregon State. Now he's going to play an actual defense. So what does Dwayne Haskins have? What about Mike Weber, Dobbins? I'm fascinated to see against a real defense how this offense holds up. There's just no way they can be as efficient as they currently are. So, yeah, and obviously the hard part is, you thought the other big game we'd have this weekend was a little later that night, Texas USC, but USC's loss and Texas is complete. They haven't looked like the Texas we expected.
Texas is some favorite right now in that game.
I think that's kind of a shame because they barely beat Tulsa, by the way, 28-21. Yeah. I have USC in this one. I just think but then again, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into that week 1 loss against Maryland, but they lost to Maryland week 1. So what do you want to say? By the way, Texas goes USC to TCU next week. So if TCU loses, they're going to probably put a whooping on the Longhorns there. So, but maybe they bounce back. I don't want to count them too much out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be an interesting game to flip over to in the commercials of Ohio State TCU.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the other one to keep an eye out on, the now ranked Sun Devils of Arizona going to San Diego State. These are late games. And Washington going to Utah. I think that's pretty intriguing just because Utah's actually looked pretty solid. And kind of like the Arizona schools, they're tough out at home. Washington obviously had that loss week 1. So this could be something that if Washington slips up, doesn't really look too strong, and it could be, potential put the playoff hopes to bed. But I think they should get it done, but don't sleep on this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be a fun game. Like I said, a lot of really good games this week.
Yeah. You want to do you before we jump over to the NFL, do you want to talk Heisman updates, or do you think it's too early to give a kind of thought on where we're at?
Greer, let's be quick. Will Greer is the front runner still.
Yeah.
Still the front runner, has done nothing to lose that post. Has looked like the best quarterback in college football outside of Tua, maybe. By the way, Ed Oliver, defensive tackle for Houston, is still getting a ton of love, which you love to see. But other than him, it's all quarterbacks, running backs. Jonathan Taylor, bang, left his mark. He's really, with Bryce Love's lackluster start to the season, if it's going to be a running back, it's probably going to be Taylor. But I think really it's going to come down to quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Tua. We've talked Haskins, Herbert, Locke, Brett Rypien, Boise State. But to me, it's really going to come down. I think it's going to be either Greer, Taylor, Murray, or Tua. That to me looks like my big four. I think 3 of the 4 of them will definitely be in New York for the Heisman, but I'm still giving my votes to Greer at this point. He's done enough for me early on.
No,
but I think it's a little early. I mean,
I agree with that.
By the way, 76.7% completions, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, 761 yards passing, QBR of 90.4. He's doing pretty well for himself. But they're going to start playing people, and that's where we're going to start to really wriggle it out here. So, All right.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's move over to the NFL.
Oh, big
week 1, Matt. I think you and I both sat. We were not in the same room, unfortunately, but we both sat in front of Red Zone all afternoon.
Oh,
and it moved a little bit when the countdown started. It might have been the happiest sight I've had since the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
It's an amazing moment.
Being at the Eagles home opener.
Yeah.
What a week.
It was electric. But you always get – so the weird thing is with the NFL, just even more so than college, because we forget how – just regardless of how bad your franchise is, all of these teams have elite talent. So I still think – you get surprised, quote unquote, but I think a lot of times we just forget how close these teams really are to each other. And so, fascinating to me there. Want to point out, by the way, the Thursday night game was a little boring if you're not a fan of one of the two teams, probably, or if you're a defensive guy. We were there. I still know the first half was electric. Being in the stadium, I mean, that's how I felt coming out of it. I thought it was a great game, though. I mean, both defenses played super well. The Eagles' defense looks completely legit again. It honestly looks like the strongest part of this team.
They look like they're better than last year.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so a really gritty win for the Birds. And Matt Ryan and Julio Jones need to kind of figure it out a little bit because they're not good in the red zone at all. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, what were your takeaways from that opener game?
My takeaways, the defense I think looks better. I'm glad they got Ajayi mixed in. I'm not sure why they didn't get him as mixed in as much in the first half. The rotation of the running backs was nice, and it was great to see Sproles still be in the mix and everything. I would have liked to see a little more Corey Coleman. I know Wendell Smallwood, I think got in for like 3 or 4 snaps. If you want to use him, I'd say figure out what his role is and kind of figure out what Corey Coleman's role is going to be. I know they have a lot of options, which is good. The receivers, they were fine. They were good enough. Foles obviously got the job done. But that defense, man, I mean, that's the biggest takeaway, I think. That and our offensive line look pretty.
Yeah. The other thing I want to point out, by the way, there's a big injury here. 2 big injuries for the Falcons. Deion Jones, who'll be back, and Keanu Neal tore his ACL. Those are 2 huge injuries for the Falcons moving forward, as they're already asking questions about their $150 million quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, just be prepared. It was a little that's tough if you're a Falcons fan thinking you're going to come out and win. Also, Devontae Freeman, was dinged up with a knee injury. That was interesting as well. Yeah. Well, let's walk through a couple games here. We don't necessarily need to review each one. Let's start with the game that I love the description on ESPN, by the way.
Yep.
So it's the Steelers and the Browns, and the caption is, well, the Browns didn't lose. 21-21. I mean, come on. Brutal. I mean, I watched the game, and it was fun to watch. But if you were a football purist and you like execution, you didn't like this game. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't watch it snap by snap. I just had it on Red Zone. But, I mean, Big Ben looked really rusty.
And yet, Juju and AB both almost had 100. I mean, had big games, right? And James Conner, big game. Go on. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but I thought that was fascinating.
No. That's a really good point because Big Ben threw for over 300 yards. But, I mean, he still looked rusty. He was 23 for 41. I mean, he threw all those different picks. The Browns defense, I mean, they took full advantage of it, but you can see how just tough the Browns offense is going to be to watch. Tyrod Taylor led them in rushing, and he only rushed 8 times. He looked pretty bad under center. 15 for 40. I know it's wet and I know it's raining, but he missed a lot of open throws that could have made the difference in this game. And, you know, I don't know what else to say. I mean, they're not the only team to not win when they've had a +5 turnover margin, but there's 4 teams that have lost, 1 team that's tied, which is this Browns team. And the others, I think it's like 137 times you've won when you have a +5 turnover difference. So, I mean, it's the easiest thing to say is whoever, you know, any other team would have taken care of this game. The Steelers were practically begging the Browns to beat them.
I know. And they blocked
Myles Garrett, though. Can we talk about him for a second?
Yeah,
he looked unreal in that game.
Yes. Yeah, he was body. I mean, and that's a really good – I mean, I think that's a really good Steelers line. Yep. And he came up huge. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss. Yeah, I was really – he looked like a number 1 overall pick. I mean, he looked great. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, and Denzel Ward did you know – this is the 4th overall pick in the draft. Looked really good as well.
Yep.
So
Preppers, all their young draft picks from the last couple of years looked really good in that game.
Yeah. No, I definitely thought. I mean, there's a lot of positives you can take out if you're a Browns fan. I know they didn't win, but I still think there's a lot of positives you can take out if you're a Browns fan. But they won a victory, and the unfortunate part, and we'll get to them, is who their next opponent is. But I don't want to jump to that yet. I want to stay in week 1. I thought the Vikings showed that they're ready.
Yep.
And the 49ers, I actually thought did a better job than people were giving them credit for. I know Garoppolo he lost the game. But on the road against a really good defense, they lost by basically a touchdown without Jared McKinnon. Marquise Goodwin hurt early. I was more impressed with this team than I think people can cover. Those look like 2 really good teams, but the Vikings look like they're ready to be a contender, I thought, at least early.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think Kirk Cousins looks like he was their quarterback last year.
Yeah,
they clicked on so many different levels, which is awesome. Good for the Vikings. I think they certainly lived up to the hype they brought into this season. The one I was pretty down on was the Saints.
Oh, so down. I mean, that's an embarrassing performance. The offense did everything they could.
Looked great.
Right. But defensively, 48 points. They got blitzed in the first half by Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's an embarrassment to me if you're the Saints defense. You expected high things. They're all pro rookie. Corner Marcus Lattimore got beat miserably, which is shocking to me because he really didn't even have a weakness, it looked like, last year. No pass rush. he was just stunned by their performance, lack of performance defensively. Offense looks great. The one thing you thought with Drew Brees is if he could get any kind of a resemblance of a defense, which you thought he had last year, they'd be good. So, yeah, I'm disappointed there.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about the Jaguars. That game against the Giants, they come over, they win it because of a fumble at the very end of it. But I think they still looked pretty solid.
Well, defensively, they look great. And there really was one run from Saquon. So Saquon had a 65-yard touchdown run. Okay?
Yep.
Look, but if you take that away, he had 17 carries for 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a great day.
No.
For the second overall pick. Now, yeah, that was a gutsy win by the Jags without Leonard Fournette, although my concern for them is, you can't afford to be a one-man offense outside of your quarterback. Like if Fournette goes down, you still have to be a good team. They won the game. That's all that matters, though.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you there. I also thought Patrick Mahomes looked great.
I was about to ask you, yeah.
In his debut. Very, very solid there. And by the way, fun fact of the day for you, Dak Prescott. Since Carson Wentz's ACL injury, Dak Prescott has scored, since Carson Wentz tore his ACL, has thrown for as many touchdown passes as Carson Wentz and Trey Burton.
Yep.
He's thrown for 1.
Yep.
So that's an issue there if you're the Cowboys.
Nick Foles has thrown 2.
Yep. Yeah.
The other one I wanted to talk about quickly, and I want to ask you, how much should we believe in the Ravens? Because they decimated the Bills.
The Bills.
So was the Bills.
I know.
But still, in a rainy day, Joe Flacco was dropping dimes left and right to his receivers.
Bills are terrible. But I will tell you this, for the Ravens, their defense is excellent.
Yep.
And we knew that. And the offense now looks good enough. 3 new wide receivers. Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead, and John Brown, and all 3 caught a touchdown pass. That's really important to me if you're a Ravens fan. They look good. They look like they're ready to make a difference and be a playoff team. I was really impressed by that performance. They didn't just beat the Bills. They routed them. And I know it's the Bills, but once again, go big, go home.
I mean, they look solid on all levels. And Joe Flacco still only completed 25 passes, but for 236 yards. That's less than 10 yards to throw. So, I mean, that's pretty – or a completion, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's still pretty solid. Other late games, you mentioned the Cowboys. The Redskins, I thought, looked decent, but the Cardinals look a lot lower than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, bad game there by the Cardinals.
Yeah, really bad game there. And I think – do we need to believe in Case Keenum still?
I mean, they played a somewhat damaged Seahawks defense. We've talked about this a little bit. I think he did what they wanted him to do, and they won.
Yeah.
I think he looked better than I was expecting. I actually thought he kind of threw out a dud gate week 1, but pretty impressive there. But Von Miller, I mean, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and recovered one of them. That's pretty much speaks volumes for how the game went for Seattle. So, yeah.
It's nothing, though.
Absolutely.
Compared to the only man that's done it twice, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, an interception return for a touchdown. What was the 5th one? I'm trying to think of what the 5th one is, but Khalil Mack, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears, I mean, if not for just an ungodly, and I mean this literally, ungodly performance, because what Aaron Rodgers did, rising from the grave, is something out of Thriller. It's something, like somebody sacrificed their hand and has a silver hand now. It's a Harry Potter reference. There's something crazy happened to get Aaron Rodgers out on the field to have that comeback. But the Bears should be incredibly excited, I think. They were clicking on a lot of different levels. I thought in the first half, Mitch Trubisky looked really good. In the second half, he looked a little shakier. But they look really good, and their defense still looked pretty solid. And if what's-his-face does bring in that interception that goes right through his hands 2 plays before, as you can hear, Matt's little nephew dog-in-law in the background. If he gets that catch, then that's game over. It's game over, man. Yeah. I mean, but what Aaron Rodgers did cannot be understated enough. He completed 20 for 30. He threw for 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Randall Cobb turned back the clock. I mean, obviously he has the 86-yard runaway, and help seal that deal. 2 plays after the slip through its hands play for the Bears. But I mean, I think this is a game that sucks if you're a Bears fan. It's a real gut punch because Aaron Rodgers once again does it. He made the comment he was not going to sit in the locker room at halftime and let the Packers go on the field without him. He made it sound like he was going to play in a wheelchair if he had to play the Bears, which just as a lover of rivalries, I love to hear that from someone, even someone like Aaron Rodgers, who can tear up a team basically now whenever he wants to. He could have a bum leg or not. I thought it was pretty funny how much they were talking about all the different things Chris Collinsworth was about how Aaron Rodgers was doing the quick throws, not pivoting on his left knee because that's the knee he hurt. They started using golf and all that sort of stuff to try to hammer home the point to all of us, has-beens that watch the sport. And I was a never was, to quote Coach Riley from the Mighty Ducks. But I mean, that game, Matt, was just insane to see.
No, it was wild. I thought, a couple things to note. When you asked me who was going to win the NFC North, I said Aaron Rodgers. I didn't say the Packers because I'm not saying they don't have talent on the field, but it really is as close to a one-man team as you can get.
Yep.
But I have to be a little concerned about their future because this is a good pivot here. They're playing the Vikings this week. Now, he says he's playing. Looks like it's an MCL sprain. So, he can play through it. He can play, but he's going to get a little beat up here by the Vikings. Even with his injury, they're still 1-point favorites at home against the Vikes.
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting there. Clearly, now you know why he's considered the best player in football.
Yep.
That alone right there should give you enough.
You know why?
Yeah. So let's talk about this coming week. Tomorrow, this is recorded on Wednesday. Thursday night action. We've just talked about this team. The Ravens visiting the Bengals. Now, Bengals come off a big win week 1 against Indianapolis and a revamped Colts team, a.k.a. Andrew Luck's back. The Ravens, this is a good game. Are they for real? Are they as good as they looked week 1?
Yep.
And for Cincinnati, can they continue to move forward with same old but, a talented roster that we talked about in the preseason?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1-point favorite there. Do you have a thought on this game with that 1-point line, which is a normal Ravens-Bengals line, by the way?
Yeah, it is. I mean, they both play each other hard. That whole AFC North plays – now that the Browns are starting to finally pull themselves out of the basement, they're finally looking a little better. But
that's a good division up there.
Now it's probably one of the more competitive divisions in football, and it can be – I mean, we see these kinds of lines all over the place. What I want to see, because – we saw really positive signs out of the Bengals in their first game. Andy Dalton looked pretty solid for the most part. I mean, he had a couple interceptions, as did Andrew Luck on the other side, part of how they won. AJ Green looked great. Joe Mixon looked really good in his first game back. So we'll see how the Bengals come out. I think, though, you're absolutely right. This is are the Ravens for real? Because I think they could try to pick apart that Bengals defense. And we'll see. I like the Ravens in this. I have them here on ESPN as a 1-point dog, but I think it's just because of Thursday night football, honestly, which is why I always get weary about Thursday night because anything can fucking happen. It's a weird game. And we've seen time and time again, teams that look like they should railroad their opponents struggle on Thursday night. So it's kind of a buyer beware if you're going to bet into this game. The over-under set at 44, so that tells you a lot of a team that just dropped over 40 points of what they think about this game and why Thursday night's so wonky. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens here, but I'm probably not going to actually bet money on this game.
No, I'm taking the Ravens here as well, though. I think they're legitimate, a little more legit than the Bengals. I'm still pretty high on the Bengals, but I think they're a little better than the Bengals. No, I'm very comfortable and confident in taking the Ravens in this one. But it's a divisional slugfest, so your assumption is it's going to be, there's going to be a war. Yep. But I do like the Ravens in this one. Absolutely.
Yep. No, I totally agree.
Diving right into the 1 o'clock slate, Panthers visiting the Falcons at the Mercedes-Benz, the future Super Bowl site. Atlanta's a 6-point favorite.
Yep.
What are your early thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so Atlanta, I think they're thinking home opener, a lot of noise. Panthers are coming off a pretty dominant win over the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Although they're offensively they did struggle a little bit. I mean,
a little bit, but still, yep. I mean, they took care of it, and Cam Newton still looks like the fucking bulldozer that he is.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're thinking that the Falcons offense bounces back because, I mean, Julio Jones still had nearly 170 yards. Red zone beat damned. I think they're thinking Matt Ryan's completion percentage gets better than sub 50%. And, you know, they play well at home. I know last year, I think they had this same game where they didn't play that great in week 2 at home against I think it was the Packers on Sunday Night Football. But I don't know, 6 points seems like a lot in this game for how much their defense struggled. And that's before losing a couple key players, as you pointed out, you know, at the top of this. So I don't know. I'm going to take the Panthers and the points here, but I kind of like Atlanta to win, but I'm going to take the Panthers and the points.
Okay. I'm going to go the same way as you're going to go here. I do think the Falcons were a little beat up defensively. You lose your middle linebacker. Deion Jones was expected to lead the league in tackles this year.
Yep.
That's a huge loss in the middle. I know they're at home. I just think the Panthers are going to be, assuming Kuechly is healthy,
yep.
have the best linebacker, in my opinion, middle linebacker in football. So I'm taking the Panthers here. But I don't know if they – I think I have them winning outright.
You have them winning outright?
Yeah. I do. I have them winning outright. There's something about the Falcons didn't – yeah, Matt Ryan is there's something there they've got to figure out. This is not the team to figure it out against, in my opinion.
Yep. I agree with that. I like that a lot. Let's move over. I got next Chargers Bills, also at 1 o'clock. Chargers open this up as a 7.5 point favorite.
That's it? Did they just did they watch what happened?
Yeah.
I
don't know what they're thinking,
but
because the Chargers didn't look bad against the Chiefs.
No, they played the Chiefs, really and Andy Reid had 6 months to prep for that game, and that's, you know, if you remember him from Philly, after a bye week, Andy Reid dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I have the Chargers.
Yeah, I have the Chargers winning this by a landslide.
Me too. They have all the offensive weapons. Now, they don't have Joey Bosa yet, but I think they easily cover 7.5 with Josh Allen
starting.
Yeah.
And
nothing else going on offensively or really even defensively. I think it's a disrespect to the Chargers there.
Yeah, I think they're probably just thinking they're coming east. I think they had this game last year, and I think they struggled against the Bills. But this was a Bills team that had Tyrod Taylor. They were better last year where they struggled. So I think that's part of it is kind of we've seen this story before. So
yeah,
but I think it's different. The Bills look really bad. And it's going to be it's tough if you're a Buffalo fan.
If this was home for the Chargers, even though I don't love their home, I'd take them as my cold hard lock. They're not, but I would take them if they were at home. I would. Next game I have here, Vikings visiting the Packers. Kind of touched on this before. Green Bay comes in as only a 1 point favorite. It's all about Aaron Rodgers' health here, really. That's the way I look at it. I have concerns. They didn't run the ball particularly effectively. Jamal Williams, 15 carries, 47 yards last week against I know that with Khalil Mack, but I thought that against a okay Bears defense, they'd do a little bit more. I have serious concerns about the Packers. I hate to bet against Aaron Rodgers, but I have some serious concerns here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm taking the Vikings with the points here.
Yeah, me
just
too.
Because I think the Bears were able to get up on them before Aaron Rodgers got down as well. And I think the Vikings can do that with a more experienced quarterback, a better receiving core, and a better run game.
And even a better defense. Because Khalil Mack's great, but the Vikings defense is absolutely for real. I don't put anything past Aaron Rodgers, so I wouldn't necessarily bet on this game either, but I'm taking the Vikings in this one, absolutely.
Yep. No, I totally agree. The next one's intriguing because I'm not sure how the Texans are only a 1.5 point favorite or a 1.5 favorite at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because if you watched that game, I know they scored 17 points after everything was said and done in the fourth quarter, but the Titans still struggled a bit, and you'd expect the Texans to lose up in New England.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's another road game for him, but I liked enough of what I saw out of the Texans, and they're playing a much weaker Tennessee team than the New England team that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think it's on the road. I think that's why you see that line.
Yeah.
I can't say I was blown away by Deshaun Watson, but you know what the Patriots do. This is what they do. I like the Texans here as well to win and cover 1.5. What is 1.5?
Yeah.
I'm not out on the Titans as a competitive squad. You're right. I have questions. I have questions about that entire organization.
A little more.
Right, yeah. So I'm with you there. I have the Texans
struggles against the Texans defense.
Absolutely. Tyrann Mathieu was their shining star in a very dim performance overall, I thought, for the Texans. Not that it was bad. It was kind of uninspiring to an extent. And I know they're playing the Patriots. That's what you do. But Tyrann Mathieu looked great. You expect J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney to get going. And against the Titans, they can do that. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like that game. By the way, this next game, I mean, it's like, what's going to happen? Browns visiting the Saints.
This is the wild card bowl.
Right. I mean, if you'd asked me Saturday, I would have told you, Saints, this is my pick of the week. But after what I saw, how do I now? I just think the problem is the offense at the Superdome is just going to explode. And I think the Browns' defense is improved, but I think the offense is just going to explode on the Browns. They're 8.5-point favorites for New Orleans.
Yep. I mean, Drew Brees threw for 439 yards last week. I think he's going to do that again.
I think the Browns are better than the Buccaneers.
You think they're better than Tampa Bay's defense?
I do, but I think the problem is Drew Brees is going to be pissed, and this defense is going to be pissed.
Yeah,
and I think Josh Gordon and Jarvis Landry are good weapons.
Yeah,
and they have a decent stable of running backs. But I just think the Saints are going to come out wanting to just statement themselves.
Yeah.
Poor Browns after a gutty performance, sloppy but gutty performance against a not even a rival, but really a divisional opponent who's been smoking them. This is not their week to me. They're not my lock, the Saints, but it's not my week. I have the Saints winning and covering.
I have the same.
Yep. By the way, I'll root for the Browns. I want the Browns to win.
Yeah, I'd love to see it win. I'd love to see them win.
I root for them every week. Next I've got a surprising 1-0 Dolphins team and visiting a surprising 1-0 Jets team. Sam Darnold apparently is the savior of New York already. You got to love New York media. Poor guy.
Sam.
Did think he played well, though. I was really impressed by his performance against a Lions team that seemed a little out of sorts early. Yeah. Jets are 3-point favorites. What are your thoughts in this one?
Yeah, so I mean, we saw a great running game from the Jets, and I think that was a big part of why Sam Darnold could have such an impressive debut. It's weird to talk about the Dolphins because they had that split-up game. Ryan Tannehill looked decent in his first game back. Their running game looked okay. The thing that's going to be the big difference maker is going to be how does the Jets defense respond to such a huge week last week? I mean, are they going to come out and dominate this Miami team, or are they going to put up a dud? And it's kind of a will they, won't they, what the hell is going to happen here type of game. I don't know. I still like the Jets to cover this. I feel like they're about a touchdown favorite over the Dolphins just because the Dolphins are a little shaky. But, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. But, I don't know. I like that Jets run game against that Dolphins defense.
So I'm gonna be opposite here. I actually like the Dolphins winning this one.
Okay.
I think the Dolphins are better than people give them credit for. They got pretty beat down by critics all summer. I like the Dolphins this one to surprise. I think the Jets come back down to earth a little bit. I still like the Jets long-term, defensively and offensively. But I think Adam Gase bruised something up here, and I for some reason just have a feeling. I like the Dolphins here.
Okay. All right, so we had 3 more 1:00 games. Next one I got is Steelers at the Chiefs. Chiefs open this up at a 4-point favorite. What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
Love the Chiefs here, even on the road. And I know the Steelers they gutted it out. I just was so impressed with Patrick Mahomes. I know teams are going to do things, but the weapons he has at his disposal offensively, I've been high on him for a while. He throws an incredible football. seems smart enough to understand Andy Reid's offense.
Yep.
And Tyreek Hill, is there a faster player in the game right now?
You talk about when
touches the ball, he's gone.
Yeah. He ran down when the Chargers thought they had a scoop and score opportunity and no one was running because the whistle had been dead, had made the play dead. Tyreek Hill, all of a sudden, as this guy just kept running, just appeared on the screen. Yeah. And he looks like he was just like walking. That's how like fast he moves with a couple strides.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I thought he's one of the most explosive players in the NFL, first of all. And second of all, they did all this with a relatively quiet game. Travis Kelce had one catch. And even Kareem Hunt wasn't necessarily explosive, and yet they won this game. So I like them over the Steelers here, which will be a shocking 0-1-1 start for the Steelers. But I'm taking them in week 2. I'm taking the Chiefs with that offense, and I think an okay defense to get by against the Steelers. I think this is going to be an absolute shootout, in my opinion. If the Steelers want to have any chance, it's going to have to be a shootout, and I think it's going to be. You there, G? G, you there?
Yeah, I just got back on. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, when did you lose me? What was I talking about?
I heard you say the shockingly 0-1-1 for the Steelers.
And that's where it cut off?
That's where I fell out of the call.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I basically just kept talking about it being a shootout. So when we pick it back up, I'll just talk about being a shootout.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, so whenever you want to just talk, just the shockingly 0-1-1 again. I'd go from.
Yeah, shockingly 0-1-1 to start the season. This is going to be a shootout game to me. Chiefs Steelers, 52.5 points, which is almost a college line, if you will. I think it's going to be it's the highest scoring potential game of the week according to Vegas. I think this is going to be that way, and I'm still taking the Chiefs. This should be an absolute fun fantasy game to watch, though.
I am doing the same exact thing. I'm taking Chiefs +4, and I agree. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. James Conner, I think, is the X factor here. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to watch. And I think a number of different players, we're going to see how they respond to weeks they had, whether Tyreek Hill can, do it again, almost get a 30 burger again. And James Conner, if he can follow up on it. Big Ben, I think, needs to look a little better. Did you see him coming in on that, like the scooter today to practice?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, with all the different injuries there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Now you can see why he wants to retire every offseason.
Yeah.
Let's skip the next game. Let's get the next game on our list. Touch on that last.
Sure, we can touch on the Eagles last.
All right. Yeah.
The last 1 o'clock game then is Colts at the Redskins. Very interesting game here, Matt.
Yeah,
Redskins open this up at 6-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. That's a weird line to me. 6 points. Yeah. I like it. It's just weird. Andrew Luck looked fine. A lot of throws, though. Another game that I think if the Colts want to win has to be high scoring because I think their defense is just not that great.
Yeah, it's a tough defense.
Yeah, you know what? I'm still going to – I'm all over the map on this one. I'm trying to come up with a decision. I definitely think this is close. I like the Colts to at least cover. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to take them or not here.
Okay. So this is our second ATS that we're going to disagree with. I'm going to take the Redskins to cover the 6-point spread. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts to cover the 6 but lose the game. It's a tough start for a team that I think is better than they were last year, for sure.
Okay. All right. The next one, though, I have is the absolute lock of the week.
I'm with you, too. Couldn't agree more. We're on the same page here.
The Los Angeles Rams hosting the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, holy shit, man. They open this as 12.5-point favorites, so betting this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Rams clicked on all levels last week against the Raiders.
After a slow first half, they did, yes.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they still looked pretty solid. I mean, you kind of thought that the Raiders were going to try to jam it down your throat because that's just Gruden ball. But their defense stood up to the test, and they made Derek Carr have to beat them, and they lived up to it. And Jared Goff did his thing. Todd Gurley really did his thing. So, I think
favorites.
Yeah, 12.5 is what I got here.
I haven't beaten over that at home against the Cardinals. Yeah,
I'm gonna take they beat that spread as well, but it is, that's an absolute definite survivor pick of the week for the Los Angeles Rams. But
no, I'm with you there as well. 100%.
Who do you think is the top player on that? I'm going to rephrase it this way, because Todd Gurley is definitely the number one. What receiver of the Rams is the most intriguing to you? Because Brandon Cooks led the way with yards, but we saw Kupp get some catches and a touchdown.
Yep.
We saw Woods kind of trying to get into the mix, and Goff just missed him. He overthrew or underthrew him.
9 targets to Woods, 3 catches.
Exactly.
I'm actually all in on Cooper Kupp. I think this guy has an opportunity to be a really, really good. He's a slot guy mostly for them, but I think. So he's my most intriguing receiver. I think there's just such an upside for him.
Yeah.
But that being said, I got to tell you, I think what makes McVay's offense so good is they're going to mix it up between all of them. He wants to have a team that's just consistently moving. Like, he wants to spread it out. He doesn't want to have a dominant guy. Yeah, you're going to take deep shots to Cooks, but that's why I like this team. The balance that I see is just really nice offensively.
Yep.
In my opinion, I'm very intrigued by this offense, which woke up. I was not intrigued in the first half, by the way, but they woke up in the second half.
No, I totally agree.
For sure, without a doubt. That part definitely was exciting to me. The one position I think that they need to see if they can get anything out of would be Tyler Higbee at tight end. He was a 4th round pick, but he had a lot of promise coming out of Western Kentucky. A lot of teams really liked him. 6'6", 255. He needs to do a little bit in his 3rd season in the NFL, in my opinion. And
I agree.
If you could add a tight end, oh my God, this offense would be next level.
Yeah, this offense could be 07 Patriots like, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to what I think is a loser leaves town type of situation for the Lions and the 49ers. Lions got embarrassed. Matt Patricia's debut. 49ers open as 6-point favorites. They looked like they could possibly get it done against the Vikings, as we mentioned. But we need to see what Jimmy Garoppolo does, and how can he respond?
Right. Well,
what do you think in this game?
Well, Matt Patricia's team can't play any worse. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
And I still think the 49ers win.
Yeah. 6 points though.
I think the Lions cover, but I have the 49ers winning.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'd take San Francisco +6, but I think Detroit Detroit +6, but San Francisco wins. It's a weird line, but kind of probably to try to get people to continue to buy into Jimmy Garoppolo. But
yeah, I'm with you there. But I think the
kind of a weird one,
though, and I think it's a big game for them to get back on track if they want to have any shot at the Rams this year.
Yeah, towards everyone's dark horse team.
Right. Now, our first 425 game on the docket.
Yep.
The Oakland Raiders visiting the divisional rival Broncos. I was actually impressed with John Gruden Monday. I know they lost. I thought Derek Carr didn't play right. I was impressed. And I actually have the Raiders winning this game, covering this, obviously, if they're winning, against the Broncos team that I thought was okay against the Seahawks. I like the Raiders to find a way here in this game, mostly because I don't think the Broncos have the same kind of offense that the Rams have. So I expect some big boy football. I'm going to be excited to watch the Raiders offense versus Von Miller and the Broncos defense.
That's what I think about this game too. I think it's going to be a big defensive battle. I would take the under of 46 on this. That's part of why I also am taking Oakland +6, but I think the Broncos still win.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But
do you expect Philip Lindsay to have 15 carries?
Exactly. Like I can't buy. I could maybe buy into Case Keenum having a nice game again, but I can't think that he has as good of a game because I don't think their running backs are going to open it up for him as much.
Right. No, exactly. So yeah.
But Final defense is going to be good.
Yeah, I know. Final 4 o'clock game. By what an opening slate for the Patriots.
Yep.
Did the Jaguars even go home? So the Patriots are visiting the Jags. So the Patriots travel down to Jacksonville. They are still 1-point favorites, which you expect because they're the team most people think is going to win the Super Bowl. To me, it's a toss-up, just like the line states.
Yep.
Let's just quickly mention Gronk looked stunning against
Gronk looks unreal.
Stunning against the Texans.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was really impressed with him. I think if Leonard Fournette does not play, I take the Pats in this game. I think it's really low scoring, but I take the Patriots. I think if Fournette plays, I'll take the Jags. But I'm going to pick the Pats as 1-point favorites to win because I'm assuming Fournette's going to be dinged up to some extent.
Yeah, I was going to take it no matter what. Even if he's fully healthy, I think the Patriots can get this. I think they have their number. I think Tom Brady just he knows how to pick apart teams like this, these young teams that have inexperienced quarterbacks, kind of young defenses, even ones as good as what the Jaguars look like they're cooking. He's got the secret sauce, man. Tom Brady knows how to do it. And with Gronk looking like how he did last week, I think it could be like a 10-point win for them.
Yeah. No, okay.
I take the over on the 45 points here.
Okay. All right. I think it's a little bit of a grind for both teams. But like I said, I still like the Pats in this one. That's why we picked him. A lot of people picked him to go all the way. No, I get that. Let's talk about the late game. A historic rivalry, if you will. Mm-hmm. Giants-Cowboys. Giants visit Big D, which is in somewhat turmoil right now. Apparently, rumor has it that Dez Bryant and Jerry Jones, by the way, hung out at a concert recently in Dallas. That's just speculation, but I wanted to bring it out to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's intriguing there.
They could use the help.
Definitely use the help.
We already made the joke. Yep.
Shaky.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? You saw what the Panthers did. I don't know if the Giants have the same personnel as the Panthers defense, but you put 8 guys in the box. And you go ahead, beat us with your arm, Dak, because we're not going to let Zeke get anything.
Exactly. And their secondary looks great.
Yep. Travis Fredericks is out.
Giants, man.
I'm taking the Giants here, too. I think the Cowboys have some serious issues, just a lack of skill position players. I could see this being somewhat of a low-scoring game because I think the Dallas defense is better than I want to give them credit for. There's a lot of weapons, though, for the Giants. And you think that Saquon and Beckham don't want to shine in the lights at Jerry World? Come on. No, I like your pick of the Giants. I'm taking them, too, in this game to obviously win and cover that 3-point line that Dallas gets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about this Monday night game?
Yeah. This Monday night game is going to be fun.
Yeah.
You got the Seahawks visiting the Bears, opening up Soldier Field. Brian Urlacher's getting honored for getting into the Hall of Fame. This is going to be fun to watch, Matt. I mean, we saw that defense get it together in that first half against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson looked pretty solid in week 1.
Don't the Bears deserve to win this game, though? Like, after getting Aaron Rodgers, like that, and that's the only reason. I mean, I like a lot of what the Bears have. That's the reason why I'm taking them. I think they just deserve the victory. And I think Khalil Mack's an absolute force. I don't want to go any farther on that trade, but I think he's an absolute monster, and I think he gets it done.
Yeah, I think he plays Russell Wilson. He's the foil to Russell Wilson, and then that forces them to either have to go to quick slants, which I think their secondary is practicing covering that, practicing any which way that they can get a jump on Russell Wilson in those situations. And I think you stack the box just like we were talking about with the Giants and make that Seattle rushing core try to be the difference maker. And I don't think they can be. I think the Bears defense can do it.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I think that Mitch Trubisky at home, coming off a high of how well he played at Lambeau Field, I think against as you said, a kind of incomplete Seattle defense, I think he can get the job done.
No, I'm with you too.
I really like the Bears in this game.
No, I do too. I do definitely as well.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, both have a same pick there. Last game, we waited. The Eagles traveling south to beautiful Tampa, Florida. 3.5-point favorites on the road with Nick Foles starting again.
Yep.
Against Fitzmagic and a surprising 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team.
Yep.
What are we thinking here?
So I think it's, can the Fitzmagic happen again?
Okay.
How do the Eagles respond to the Fitzmagic in terms of their defense, which I think they will very strongly? And most importantly, how does Nick Foles look against this Tampa defense? It didn't look that great against New Orleans. They let up 40 points. But I think he needs to look a little better than he did against Atlanta. And I think if you can incorporate, we talked about it a little bit, if you can get the running stable, a little more stabilized, not to be completely punny on this, but
run Jay early.
Yeah. I think if they can get this, I think the Eagles are going to win.
Okay.
Because I really don't think that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be able to get this going. Because what we forget about that Saints defense, and I wanted to make the point before, but last year they were very good, but in 2014, 15, and 16, they let up. They were like close to the bottom in the NFL in terms of yards allowed.
Every year. Right. No, I agree with that. They've been terrible defense for a long time.
So I think that's a lot of it. In the Superdome, things always turn into track meets there, which we'll eventually get to when the Eagles go down to New Orleans, but
should be fun.
I don't think that Ryan Fitzpatrick can do the Fitzmagic again against this defense, because I think Mike Evans is going to get guarded up pretty heavily, and if the Eagles have to go double coverage on him, or if they have to have Malcolm Jenkins just kind of babysit Deshaun Jackson so he doesn't make that separation like he did against the Saints. I mean, they did just have so many different ways to foil what the Buccaneers were able to do against the Saints. I think it's a pretty solid Eagles win in this one.
Me too. I like them to cover. I also think that the pass rush is better, and I don't think Fitzmagic has it twice. Yeah. You know, you don't learn new tricks. He's like 35. You don't learn new tricks at 35. Nothing against the guy. I think he's one of the best backups in the whole league.
Yep.
I was right, 35. I think the Eagles do win this 2-0, and then I believe we'll be talking about it next week, but the return of Carson and the return of Alshon, possibly, who's now practicing next week, puts the rest of the NFL on notice that this team is going to be right there. I like him to win this one. And I think you're right. I think the running game of the Eagles gets them through another week here. I thought it got them through last week to an extent. I think it gets them through here as well. We don't need another Philly special to win this game.
No, I totally agree.
But I'll take another one. Whatever Doug does, I believe in. So
Philly,
yeah,
whatever they want to call it, or whatever version of it they want to do.
But it's shaping up to be another amazing week.
I think so. I mean, a lot of fun in the college game. I mean, again, stay safe if you're on the East Coast with all this rain coming in. I talked about playing golf with some buddies. I don't even think that's going to happen. I got lucky in missing some of the rain while you were over at Aronimink. I played at my home track, but I don't think that's happening. I mean, it was supposed to rain yesterday and today here in Philadelphia, Tuesday and Wednesday, and it didn't. It started to rain a little bit as we were starting to record, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We're looking forward to it. Looking forward to touch base next week.
Yes.
Can't wait. You know, we can do some cold hard locks in honor of Logie Bear next week.
Yes.
So going to the big wedding next week. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. Should be another great week in football. Jordy, I want to see if you can get back on the schneid in our big league. See if I can continue my success, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I outscored you by 20 points. I let up the most points. I would be third if we just did it points in our fantasy league. I just want to give that as a shout out to myself.
I see how it is.
I mean, you know,
that's what happens when you go up against Tyreek freaking Hill.
Yeah, Tyreek. I mean,
and Michael Thomas.
Nobody cares about our fantasy league, but let's just go through my matchup against Ryan White, because we had every big scorer on the planet in our fantasy matchup, and it looked like he was really going to blow me out because he had Ryan White. Shout out to him if he's listening. He had the Lions defense, who right off the bat had 17 points with the pick six right away, but he had Michael Thomas, who had an all-time week. He had Tyreek Hill; those were his two wide receivers. I had Gronk, I had Kamara, I had Aaron Rodgers, who put up 25 points after going down in the second quarter. The Eagles defense gave me double digits. He had Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, we were close to having an all-time DraftKings week. We could have, competed in the $1 Million Challenge, man.
Dominated. I know. I get you there 100%. You know what? That's fantasy. It does it to you early. Like I said, I love the rest of your team. I think you're going to have a big season. You're going to lose to me, obviously, before the championship, most likely. But, I do think you're going to have a good year in this case.
Well, we'll see. We'll keep the people informed when there's the duel in the dome.
Yeah.
But just to give everybody an idea for Cold Hard Locks, we do have 3 competing picks in terms of against the spread. We have a couple where we pick different winners, but ATS is what we count for the Cold Hard Locks. Hopefully, neither of us is basically for those that normally wait on our actual post. Matt had sent them to me, and I had kind of gotten tied up with a couple things before we went down to tailgate the Eagles game. And then the weekend was a little wild. So neither of us got the post up. Hopefully we will get it up this week. Keep an eye out for it on thunderblogsports.com. Keep an eye out for my Funvee Tailgate college blog where I give all my picks for that and some betting advice, all that good stuff. And other stuff we talk about the Phillies a lot on the Bullpen Cart podcast right here on this feed, but I need to get a good right in. I've had a rough time rooting for this team, but I haven't covered them as well in the written form as I have on the podcast form.
You should probably ease off the Philly talk. Nola gave up 3 in the first inning, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I still
go Birds, right?
Go Birds, but I still believe in the long term of the Phillies. I said 2020 and 2016, and I still believe that. But make sure that you go follow us on all of our different social media accounts: ThunderBLG on Twitter, Thunderblog Sports on Instagram, Thunderblog Sports on Facebook, just like the website, thunderblogsports.com. But for my man, Matty D, I am the G-Man. Have a good weekend, everybody, and go Birds!